Hmm. Ready to start? It's my cue. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to First United Methodist Church Community Panel on Immigration. My name is Fran Byrne, and I'm a member of the discernment team, which is hosting these community panels. I want to thank and introduce our three panelists for taking time out of their very busy schedule to be with us this evening. We have Alejandra Torres, who's the Assistant Director of the Immigration Office in Catholic Charities, Fabiola Aguirre, an immigration consultant with Families United Immigration Services, and our very own Elham, Rafla-Yuan, who will share her personal experiences with immigration, as well as her current work with the Interfaith Refugee Network. So I think, as everyone knows, our very adept moderator is Bob Cheel, and we are recording the session. We'll start out with each panelist offering a brief overview of their agency's work in the community. We also hope to discern from the discussion where the needs of immigrants are perhaps not being met and how we as a church can support those needs. This will be followed by a question and answer segment. You can type your questions into the chat box during any time at the presentations or raise your hand afterwards. So unless there's any questions, we can just get started. And Bob, I think we're going to start with Alejandra, who will be sharing a slide presentation. So she'll have to be, is she already a co-host? She can just take off from there. All right.
You all said, Alejandra? I think she seems to be frozen.
Oh, well, darn. Well, that's not good.
Let's give it a minute.
Okay. I know she has a really big file to share. Just gonna go with that. And then she went away. And okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and start. Fabiola Aguirre, thank you for being here this evening.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'll go ahead and start out with introducing myself. As you mentioned, my name is Fabiola Aguirre, and I'm an immigration consultant. I started my own business back in November 2020. I'm going on to 2 years, but prior to that, I did work for an immigration attorney for 18 years. I pretty much worked in deportation defense, and I was able to work a lot with asylum cases. Now that I'm on my own, I am closer to the community and closer to the people, because people reach out to me and I get to see where like the needs are and starting to get more involved and actually doing a little bit more research and looking into people's where the areas are more needed and stuff than just, you know, kind of sitting behind an attorney and just doing the work that I have to do. Right now, I think what we need is the law to change for sure. I know there's there's a lot of young people that actually need some kind of immigration benefit to be able to continue with their schooling or be able to get a job. It's getting more complicated for people to get a job, especially where you could get paid decently. Now that immigration is actually offering the employers to do the e-verify, it's just harder for people to actually just go out and apply for a job now. So there's a lot of I don't know, it's just so it's getting harder and harder for people to get around and stuff. And I have been seeing a lot of more cases for asylum. I know there's a lot of people that are coming from different countries. Our biggest, I could say the biggest people or rate are still from Mexico that are coming requesting asylum. That's where I've seen that our asylum cases are growing, and it's really hard, and it's really sad for those kind of cases, because to get asylum is really, really hard, really hard. I think they should be more advertising. There should be more organization for, I know with COVID, there was a lot of limitations. We couldn't really have contact and stuff like that. And I know, I do see that people don't know where to go to or how to get their information or their resources, but just looking online. Now that the restriction for COVID has lifted, I think it would be good for organizations and I don't know, other type of businesses that does immigration to actually go out and announce themselves and actually be able to guide the people. Because I know there's a lot of people that just go to anyone, they just get any information. Sometimes I have met with people that they go to attorneys sometimes and they don't get the full information. So their cases are a mess. And I think there isn't a lot of communities here in Sonoma County that does offer a lot of help and guidance to immigration. One of the things that I want to do is actually, because I'm barely starting, I want to let people know that I'm here to help. I do still work with the attorney that I used to work for. So it's not like I'm giving legal advice on my own, because I can't do that. But I do have a support, and he is an attorney. So I just want to let people know that that I could do that, and I could meet with people and be able to guide them to the right direction.
That's great. Okay. Thank you, Fabiola.
Yes.
You're done. And okay, I think we got Alejandra back. You froze and went away, and I believe you're the co-host now. Is that correct?
I believe so, and I apologize for that. After 2 years of practice with Zoom meetings, apparently technology is still a challenge for me. But let me go ahead and just screen my screen here with you all. Let's see. Perhaps you can let me know if you see a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, that looks good.
Mm-hmm.
That looks good. Okay, and it says welcome to Catholic Charities. You don't see my little side notes there. Perfect. Okay, so yes, so thank you so much. My name is Alejandra Torres. I as Fran mentioned, I'm the assistant director for the Immigration Department here at Catholic Charities. I've been with Catholic Charities for over 6 years, but with the Immigration Department for the last 2 years. I had the great pleasure of onboarding into the department right in the middle of the pandemic 2 years ago. So it's been very interesting, but Catholic Charities is actually very special to my heart on a personal level as well, not just professionally, but it's very close to my family. As of 30 years ago, Catholic Charities had the opportunity to do some outreach out in the Humboldt, Del Norte County over 30 years ago, and happened to encounter my father, who was working out in Del Norte County at a lily farm for $1.25, living in a shed with multiple other workers. But Catholic Charities was able to connect with him and offered him the opportunity through the amnesty, the 1986 amnesty, and able to offer him an opportunity to become a legal permanent resident. So again, that was 30 years ago. And thanks to that, Catholic Charities was also able to help my father become a US citizen, who eventually then petitioned for his wife and his 3 children, one of them being myself. It's been truly a pleasure to be able to come back to Catholic Charities and be able to provide the same opportunity, the same hope that Catholic Charities was able to provide my family 30 years ago. In fact, the person who took my father's family-based petition when he was ready to petition for his wife and 2 children was Manuel Rivera, who's been with Catholic Charities for over 31 years now. And he still works here. So it's quite amazing that I get to work alongside the same immigration representative who took my father down this journey. So for me, it's just truly, truly a pleasure to be able to be part of Catholic Charities immigration legacy. So just wanted to share that a little bit with you. But Catholic Charities as an agency, we're definitely driven by our mission. We're inspired by the love and teaching of Christ, but we serve and advocate for all, especially those who are vulnerable, regardless of their culture, beliefs. Again, really focusing on the most vulnerable population in our community, which tends to unfortunately be those who are experiencing poverty. Okay? That's our great CEO, Len Marabella. Catholic Charities does reach several different counties. The Immigration Department specifically does work in Sonoma County, but we also do go all the way up to Humboldt County, Mendocino County, as I mentioned, Del Norte County. In fact, we were just up there a few months ago doing immigration fairs in Humboldt County and Del Norte County. So,
Alejandra,
Oh,
we're still stuck on the first slide.
let me stop sharing and then try that one more time. See if I can get the right screen. Let's take a look. How about that? Do we see our reach Sonoma Napa Lake?
Yes.
mm-hmm.
There we go. So perfect. So yes, we serve Sonoma, Napa, Lake, Humboldt, Mendocino County. The Immigration Department is able to have satellite sites. So not only are we able to work from our main administration office here in Santa Rosa, which is off of Pioneer Road, but we do have satellite offices. Right now, we are currently in Ukiah. So we're there once a month. We're currently in Petaluma working with the Family Resource Center that's right on site for the McDowell Elementary School. So we're there once a month as well. And we're currently working with this Sonoma County Public Library to have a monthly office at the Roseland Library on Sebastopol Road as well. So one of our missions, again, breaking down barriers to access our services. So again, transportation, we really want to work on some of the rural areas where we know there's individuals who qualify for it or have an immigration pathway, but are just not able to make it all the way to Santa Rosa or to Sonoma County. So we want to bring our services to them, especially with our partners and our donors, and being able to help us cover some of those transportation fees and sometimes even pay for our clients' gas funds. Up in Humboldt County, we do have a partner that's been very kind to us, provide us gas cards $100 gas card, the clients do have to come to our office here in Santa Rosa. With immigration, sometimes we really have to have the client in person to do the signatures. So it's wonderful to have partners who can help us provide those services to the clients. So we're not able to stop midway. But Catholic Charities as a whole, we're quite a large agency. We have over 200 staff members. I hope you can see my next slide there, program areas. But of course, we wouldn't be able to do the work that we do without our volunteers. On a yearly basis, we have over 500 volunteers, whether they're volunteers that have been with us for years, maybe just a one-time on our food distributions, or those like our citizen instructor volunteers who've been with us for seasonally when we have our citizenship classes. We have 3 different areas. We have our homeless and housing solutions. We have, of course, our immigration and naturalizations, which we'll talk a little bit more about today. And then we have our financial stability and crisis response services. But for us, immigration and naturalization services, we're a small but mighty team of 13. That's not counting our citizenship instructors, which we have 3 of them. They work with us on a seasonal basis. Our department has a total of 10 Department of Justice accredited representatives. In fact, as far as nonprofits, we are recognized as a nonprofit agency with the most DOJ immigration representative nationwide. So we're really excited and honored to have that badge. That was something that we were able to gain as of last year. But we definitely focus just on what's called family-based petitions, DACAs, green card renewals. We also focus on victims of crime services, which involve T visas, U visas, and VAWAs. So other remedy is basically what we offer as far as legal immigration services. Because we are just accredited immigration representatives, we're not attorneys. There are some limitations of what we're able to do. So what we're not able to offer the community is the immigration legal services around asylum, refugees, or deportation representation. Those are pathways that we're not able to step in and support. However, we are part of a network that we're able to do a soft handoff for referrals over to reliable, affordable immigration attorneys that can go ahead and take those cases if we're not able to. We also have 2 immigration attorneys that are on staff with us that are consulting and available for our staff to connect with at all times. So we do have a great network of clients and partners to be able to support the communities that we serve. Okay. And this is just a little bit about us. Our director, Dina Lopez, who's been with the agency for over 10 years. A couple of our team members, Isabel, who's just been with us for over 20 years. She's our front desk receptionist. And then Mary and our wonderful citizenship instructors that are with us and some of our clients that we serve. Yep. And I'll stop right there just because those are the rest of our services, but I know we don't have much time for that. Let's see. I'm gonna attempt to stop sharing here. Okay, did I remove my screen? Perfect. So yeah, that's just a little bit about us and some of the services that we offer. As far as some of the challenges and successes that we've seen in the last couple of years around immigration services, you know, it's been a bit of a roller coaster politically for us in the last couple of years. I think a lot of us are still feeling the impact that we saw over 4 years ago on our community, and a lot of mistrust that was created. As Fabiola mentioned, there's a lot of information that's out in the community, but it's not always accurate. And a lot of times our community members are very concerned about moving forward on immigration process because they're not quite sure who to trust, right? So unfortunately, when there is a lot of mistrust in the community, it's also a great opportunity for a lot of predatory practices, and we have seen that in the community. So our immigration department does like to focus a lot in doing outreach out in the community. We work with a lot of our parishes, but we're also in partnership with a lot of other nonprofit organizations. So we can be on site, whether it's on immigration fairs, community events where the community and their families are coming to a particular event to just have a good time, but we'll be there and available to provide the opportunity for them to ask us questions in a confidential way and know that they can obtain reliable and accurate information as well. We put a lot of effort to ensure that we do immigration fairs on a yearly basis. Again, we're on site to provide individual consultations for free for clients. A lot of times it's us determining whether those individuals have a legal pathway. If we do, then we walk them through that journey. If they don't, at least we're able to give them the right information so they don't fall into any predatory practices that somebody else who might be wanting to use the fact that they're so hopeful of having an opportunity to obtain legal status that they're willing to do anything and pay anything for the services. And unfortunately, there are people who will use that to make profit off of the community. So we're always very vigilant about that. Biggest challenges I think that we've seen with the pandemic coming on is the financial challenges that community members who do have a legal pathway are seeing. A lot of individuals who are able to come to us and are able to access our services because they're eligible either to petition a family member who's outside of the country or currently in the country, or even a dreamer who has been able to obtain their work authorization document, but they just don't have the financial assistance to pay the USCIS filing fees that can be very, very expensive. I mean, can you imagine paying $700, $725 just to become a US citizen, right? Or DACA dreamers having to pay $495 every 2 years on top of what the pandemic brought on with challenges of rent, food, right? So a lot of times we're really trying to step in and help our clients not have to make a choice between providing food for their families and being able to pay an application to immigration, right? So we really try to break down those challenges. A lot of the funding that we do obtain comes from private donations, but we also do have federal and local grants that help us ensure that we keep our costs as far as legal fees either free or at a very low cost compared to other immigration attorneys in the area. Thanks again to some of our private donors and grants, we are able to step in and pay for filing fees. In fact, right now, since April of this year, we've been able to cover over $40,000 in just filing fees for DACA recipients who need to renew their DACAs. And then individuals who are eligible to become US citizens, we have been able to offer over, I believe we're about $8,000 in financial assistance to cover those filing fees. So again, this is just our way to ensure that people are able to obtain reliable immigration legal services in an affordable way. So that's truly our mission, and working with partners to bring those services to rural areas. It's what we do. Yeah, and I'll stop there. I can go on forever, but I'll stop and leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alejandra. It's important work that both you and Fabiola do. So our third speaker tonight is Elham, and she's going to share her personal experience as well as her work with the Interfaith Refugee Network. So you're up.
Okay, so my name is Elham, and my family immigrated to the United States from Egypt when I was 6 years old. So I've been in the United States for a long time, but my family and several other relatives, other families, cousins and such, all kind of came around the same time. And everything had to be left behind. So we came and only with what we could carry, and had to have the experience of learning English, finding, my parents had to find work and all of that. And I still have had relatives coming from Egypt over the years doing the same thing. So I was able to relate to refugees coming from other countries. And I'm actually part of two different groups, two different organizations, one based in Santa Rosa, one based in Petaluma. So the first one is called the Interfaith Refugee Support Committee or Network. And that was founded about 4 or 5 years ago with the intention of supporting a refugee family from anywhere, really. And we weren't able to find one. We were trying to work with organizations that help refugees to see if they would refer us, a family to us, but most families go to more urban areas. So we disbanded and then reformed last year when we found that there was families from Afghanistan coming to this area. So we worked specifically with a family who came to Santa Rosa because there was a family member already here. As you know, there's about 75,000 families that have come from Afghanistan since the government fell in August. And the particular family that that we've worked with in Santa Rosa was there when the explosion happened at the airport, and they were able to get on the airplane and get out, but they still have family members that are still there that they want to get out, but now it's a very difficult thing to be able to do that. So there were, in this particular extended family, 9 or 10 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And then we were able to help them find, through networking, find a home to live in. And let me explain what the interfaith, that part of the name comes from, is that this committee was formed by people from different faith groups, from different churches, but also from the Universalist Unitarian Church, from the Quaker community, from there are some members from the who are Jewish, so all different faiths. So I'm the only member from FUMC specifically, but so we basically helped this one family find a home, find furnishings, sign them up for school, including elementary school, high school, classes at the JC, computers were donated to them, bicycles, clothes, finding food through connecting them to the Redwood Empire Food Bank, where they still go get food on a regular basis. So it was really helpful to have a committee that was connected to different faith groups, because when there was a need, we were able to reach out and ask our different churches or communities to help with that particular need. So that worked really, really well to be able to work quickly to help this family be able to get what they needed. And along the way, one of the organizations that helped with the furnishing their house was called welcominghome.org. And they're an organization that's based in San Rafael that has started also working in Santa Rosa for about the past year. I recommend looking at their website, it's called welcominghome.org. They furnish homes usually for people that are homeless, that are referred to them by a caseworker, that they're transitioning from being homeless to having a place to live, and they have no money for furnishings. So they were able to furnish the home for our refugee family in Santa Rosa. So the one thing I didn't mention was that when they left Afghanistan, all these people, the 75,000 people left in August when the government fell, they were sent to different holding centers for a couple of months. And then they arrived at various places in cities all throughout the United States. Most of them were sent to Oakland, Sacramento, or the South Bay area. There are Afghani communities there. There's another group in Petaluma that a family organization brought 9 Afghani families who specifically worked with the American government and who were in danger and had to leave. And these 9 families are living together in an apartment complex in Petaluma. And there's an organization called Afghan Allies that was created by the Episcopal Church in Petaluma that is trying to support the needs of these 9 families there. So I've been getting more involved with that particular group out of St. John's Episcopal Church. And I've been going to their meetings and meeting with the families that live in Petaluma. So they have set up through Afghan Allies, they have set up families, American families, and tried to pair them with each Afghani family to help them figure out things that they need, how to, cultural differences, how to find just basic things that they need. They're close to, we're very close to the McDowell Elementary School that was mentioned earlier, where they have gone there for English classes. And the rector at St. John's Episcopal Church has set up meetings once a month where they can all gather and learn about how to get credit, how to write a resume, how to learn financial literacy, just different topics that they all kind of need to learn. Many of them, because they worked for the US government, have had careers and have had educations, but now the jobs that they've been given by this organization that has brought them here is as flaggers. So they go out into the community and work as flaggers and traffic, directing traffic. So one of the things that I've been working on most recently, well, 2 things that I've been working on, is helping them sign up for classes at the Santa Rosa Junior College, whether it's just ESL classes that are free to them if they sign up for them non-credit, or if they want to go to school to take classes to get a degree so that they can work here. Many of them do need to work on their English to be able to get jobs in their field if possible. But some of them want to go to take classes to get a certificate or a degree in another field. So I've been working on forming educational plans with some. And also, many of the women are just now learning to drive. Many of the men already, and that was earlier on, already got their permits and licenses, but many of the women are still learning to drive. So I've been giving driving lessons to some of them, because in Afghanistan, women are not typically allowed to drive. So this is new to a lot of them. And there's that's one cultural difference, right, that they have to get used to, and there's a lot of cultural things that they're having to learn about that are different besides the language, right? Anyway, so that is, yes, that is pretty much it. Oh, I wanted to mention one more thing. Many of them have to apply for asylum to be able to stay in the United States, because they have a 2-year visa called humanitarian parolee visa. And so to be able to be eligible for citizenship, they need to apply for asylum. And there is a organization called the Immigration Institute of the Bay Area, which is based in Napa and is setting up an office in Petaluma that is trying to help these families. And that was another thing that the Afghan Allies group at St. John's Church set up, invited this institute to come and talk to these families and do intakes and give them information. So there's still a lot of issues that they have to work out in terms of finding housing, to continue to find housing, because they are not sure that they can afford to stay where they're living now, and to be able to find work and education and also deal with their immigration status. There are just a lot of issues that they still have to deal with all at once, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. But I've enjoyed being able to get to know some of the members of these families and interact with them. It's very rewarding. So I will stop there.
Thank you. Thank you, Elham.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful. Were we going to open up to any questions, perhaps, Bob?
Yes, please. We have questions. Thank you all for sharing. It's amazing challenges being faced. I'm in awe of the work that you're doing. Elham, it's very interesting to hear the hands-on approach that you've got there. And I just wondered, what questions do people have here in our group? What's going on? I guess if I were to ask a question, it would be, we're certainly searching within our church. The question is, where can we specifically help? It reminds me of the homelessness issue. There's so many challenges in it. You just can't do everything for everybody. And, sometimes you feel like because we can do so little that we can't do anything, right? And yet the realization hits that helping one person is way better than helping none at all. And that you just have to put one foot in front of the other. What suggestions would you have for us as a church, for any of you three? What suggestions do you have for us to narrow down where we might be most effective?
I can answer. I have several suggestions. One of the website that I mentioned, called welcominghome.org, you can go on the website and look and see the particular families that they go in and set up all the furniture for a family at one time, and they take donations and they ask for very specific things. So you can go on their website and look and see, oh, an end table is needed, or a lamp, or just they have, because they do a plan for the home that they are going to furnish after talking to the people that are going to live there, the family that's going to live there. And so they come up with a plan of specific things that are needed and measure the space. And so welcominghome.org is a website that you can go to donate specific things. And the Interfaith Refugee Support Network takes donations. We have helped support this family monetarily. Afghan Allies also takes donations, but if you want to get involved, they also, like I said, have paired up individuals with families to help kind of come alongside families as they try and figure out different things along the way.
Great.
And that's through St. John's Episcopal Church.
Great. All right, thanks, Elham. And Alejandra, you were going to say something as well.
Definitely. I'm kind of just to piggyback what Elham was saying. I think a lot of the time, the biggest challenge is what happens once they're here, right? A lot of times, IBA, who we partner with as well for asylum and refugee services, do a wonderful job in providing the immigration legal aspects of it. And from one end, they're so overwhelmed with the vast need in the community, whether it's from refugee or asylum services or just general immigration services, that their staff are overworked, short staffed. So a lot of times being able to provide them with the support, whether those are donations, to be able to continue the work or even expand the works, especially in communities where we see a big need for it, like Petaluma, as Elham mentioned, that we're seeing a need for asylum immigration legal services. So a wonderful way to be able to support them on the legal aspect. But there's also a great opportunity for us community members to come together and provide wraparound services, right? And we kind of talk about some of the basic need skills, being able to help a family or individual connect to the many resources that are available in our agency, right? Being able to be maybe like an advocate for that family, to be able to connect them to maybe a resource center that can help them, offer them ESL classes like the McDowell Resource Center or the JC, which is a wonderful event, but just being able to be that bridge between the resource and the families, I think it's a wonderful way to be able to offer that support to families, right? Housing is also very challenging in Sonoma County. I think we all know that throughout California. So being able to provide some support to those families, whether it is rental assistance, so they can kind of get on their feet into something a little bit more independent and something a little bit more permanent. It's always a wonderful way. But those kind of life skills, a lot of times that newcomers to this country need the support, right? So I think that's a great way for us community members to come together to see how we can support these individual families. Of course, always making sure that the families are the ones that are leading the pathway and asking them what it is that they're hoping to accomplish first and what their priorities are, and then being able to have conversations like this and understand what resources are available and how we can bring those resources to those families once we identify what it is that they need, right? That would be a suggestion for me. Again, there's the legal aspect of it, but then there's those wraparound basis skills that I think we as just individual community members can step in and provide these families as well.
I'm at the risk of this being really not a smart question, or another way of saying a stupid question. Are you the people that you run into that obviously the immigrants who are reaching out for assistance, are they homeless right now? Do they have a place that they're staying, or what level of housing have they achieved? I'm
not quite sure that question is directed to all of us.
Yes, to all of you.
From Catholic Church immigration perspective, we don't work with many asylum and refugees clients, but most of the times individuals that we do serve tend to be housed. They tend to be employed. They tend to be somewhat stable, right? Many of them have been here for many, many years, just hoping to obtain a legal pathway, but just have not been able to find one, or be eligible for one, or they are eligible but don't have the financial means to move forward on it. Again, sometimes we're talking about over from $6,000 to $10,000 just for a family-based petition. We're incorporating all legal fees plus the filing fees, correct? So a lot of times those are the cases. We have seen a lot of individuals, a lot of community members fall victims of crimes, whether it's domestic violence, assault in our community. Those for us tend to be some of the most vulnerable clients that we serve because they have been to a very traumatic situation and at the same time don't have an actual legal status, right? They don't have the ability to access health insurance, to obtain medical health services that are greatly needed, and the free services that are available are just overly impacted, right? So a lot of times those individuals do tend to become homeless or housing unstable because of the situation that they're trying to leave, right? So a combination of many things, but for the most part, our clients do seem to be housed and somewhat stable.
It sounds like that's also where Fabiola, where you end up coming in as well, as when, I mean, you're right, if a person if they have to be able to trust the police, for instance, that they can reach out and say, I've been harmed here, right? They're at risk of deportation, or what's your perspective on all this, Fabiola?
It's okay. So back to the other question about being housed. So for the people I've worked with, like I mentioned before, because I do work with an attorney. I actually don't work for the attorney, but we do work together. I'm able to get deportation defense cases and asylum cases as well. And normally, when I do get an asylum cases, right now, I have families from Mexico. I have a case from Honduras, and I have another case from Nicaragua. And they normally come here because they have somebody here, like either a spouse or a sibling. So they already, when they arrive, they arrive with family members, and then family members help them find a place to move out to and stuff. So the housing part it might be a little hard because of the rent being so high, and they don't have a job right away, but then they tend to look for jobs where they could get paid under the table or something like that while they get either a work permit. And then once they have their employment authorization card, then they get a better paying job. Now regarding the other question, it is a challenge, like Alejandra says, about the filing fees and stuff like that, immigration. I think just getting to the right person that could guide you to the right direction in immigration, I think finding the correct person, that's like the hardest thing there is, especially because there's a lot of people that tend to know a lot about immigration. When I was signing up to become an immigration consultant, you don't need an experience. You don't need to have experience in immigration, which to me was really frightening. It was scary to know that anybody could become an immigration consultant. They don't ask if you have experience or your background or anything like that. They do a background check and see if you don't have any criminal history and stuff. And because I've dealt with so many people where it's like, I've actually, when I was working with the attorney, we did have this attorney. I mean, we had cases where they've had attorneys, but attorneys would show up to court drunk. They would just take the money and leave, and stuff. And it's scary. So people get scared. They don't trust anybody. And it's harder for me to actually have people come to me because I'm not an attorney. People think that that I'm just here to take people's money, and I'm not. You know, I did everything legal. I registered with the state. I purchased my bond, and I did everything correctly because that's how the attorney taught me. He's really, really honest, and I think I learned from one of the best attorneys in Sonoma County. And I try to be as honest as I can. And it's just really hard for people to find somebody that's honest. I think you guys, by having us and actually doing a little bit more research on us and actually having us on your panel, I think that's a lot of work for you guys to provide to the community, because now you guys could say, hey, you know, I met this person. You could guide your community, you could guide your people from your church and say, hey, try this person. If I can't help, then I could probably send it off to Catholic Charities. If Catholic Charities can't help, then they could send it off to somebody else. But that's like the whole thing of networking and stuff. And I think it's really important for us to, like Catholic Charities and myself and other attorneys, instead of seeing ourselves as competition, I think we should join together and just say, hey, you know, I have this case. Could you help this person? Sure. Okay. And just, you know, go send somebody else their way and stuff like that. I've always thought that immigration topic is, there's always going to be enough work for everybody. We could all share it. And sometimes you don't want to overwhelm yourself and not give your client the best treatment, the best attention, just because you want to take everything. You know, it's like give, and not share. I think that's the important thing, to always try to provide the best information to your people, to your clients and stuff.
It takes a village, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. Any other questions? Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask before I go to one last question?
I just have I do have a question for Interfaith organization. So what I understood, they don't do immigration paperwork and stuff like that. They just help the people that arrive here. Is that
Yes, we've been helping specifically refugees from Afghanistan. So we had an organization called the Immigration Institute of the Bay Area. And they are working to provide help with their legal status, to help with them to get temporary protected status, or to apply for asylum, or some of them have SIV visas already, so they can apply for green cards. Each family is in different circumstances. So they had people from that organization come and do intakes and agree to take them on, because that's a nonprofit. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not, no.
Okay.
No, with them, no. Now, do you guys deal with minors as well?
With whole families.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, that's good enough to know.
Great. So, you know, with everything that's been said, we keep asking ourselves, I think, as a church, where are the gaps? You know, where are the gaps in services? What, you know, where can we fill in? And if I ask each of you, the question is, if there's this one thing that you say, gosh, if there's one thing that we had above everything else, this is obvious. Could you help us kind of narrow it down like that? Is there one thing that you would say, this is what we need today? You know, what would that be? Alejandra, could you start with that? It's not an
Just-
easy question, I know.
No, just one thing, huh?
Yeah, right.
I think the hardest thing for me a lot of times when I see clients is us not being able to move forward because we're not able to help them financially through this journey, right? And by that, we mean we can cover our financial fees, but we're not able to cover what they have to pay out of pocket, whether that's transportations to go to San Francisco for their refugee asylum cases, whether it's a filing fee of $700. Those have been the challenges that we've seen where clients, because of their current situation, whether they're new to this country, whether they don't have a status or no family members, they're stuck, right? They're stuck and they can't move forward, even though they have the opportunity to do the legal right to do it. So if I could be able to create a little pot of gold and be able to take out of there and tell my families, don't worry about the legal fees that we offer, we can cover that. And thanks to this wonderful community, we're able to ensure you to move forward on this pathway. And regardless of how complex or the barriers that immigration puts ahead of us, we can still move forward and achieve that goal for you and your family. So for me, it would be that little pot of gold where we can kind of continue to give direct financial assistance to those families for their benefits. So not to my agency, not to me as an immigration representative, but to that family. And we'll take care of the rest, whether that's Catholic Charities or IBA, who we work very closely with. A lot of times we have to turn clients away because they're not able to cover those filing fees.
Thank you. Yeah, Elham, what do you think? And then we'll go to Fabiola.
I would agree with that because that is one thing that we have had. The one thing that we started doing with the Interfaith Refugee Support Committee and Afghan allies is we fundraise so that we would have a pot of money to help families when there was a very specific need. Because many of them have nothing when they come and need to figure out so many different things at one time. And the family in Santa Rosa, for example, they were all legal, but it took them a long time to get their employment status, their employment EAD cards, it's called, so that they could work legally. And so they didn't have enough money to pay for rent. So we were helping subsidize their rent for a limited amount of time. But just to have that pot of money to help with specific things that different families might need. So I would agree with that. It's the same answer.
Thank you. Fabiola.
Well, I don't deal with as much people as they do in that way. I know where I do see much more needed is for people to get the right information, for people to get a little bit more educated. If there was only ways for, like Alejandra had mentioned, immigration fairs, just let people know that it's okay to go and talk to someone to see if they have any hope. I know Alejandra mentioned a lot about filing fees. There are some applications that immigration offers the filing fee waivers. You could ask for a waiver where you don't pay for fees. You just have to qualify. There's certain requirements, and not all applications have a fee waiver. So that's something people could also look into and see if the application they're applying for does have a fee waiver, and if it does, if that person qualifies, meets the requirements. I know people to renew their green cards and citizenship as well does offer fee waivers. My fees, I think I pretty much try to work with the people. I say I don't charge a lot. And I know I do this because I have passion for immigration and also to help my community. So if I really see their needs, I actually do the work before I get paid. And I know this is, I know I shouldn't do that, but I do. So there's just things that when I meet with people, I could see their needs, I could feel it, and it depends on basis and stuff like that. So I just think that if people could get a little bit more like immigration fairs and get more information and stuff like that, and instead of just trying to go to anybody, I think that's really important as well.
Well, we're battling fake news in a lot of ways, aren't we?
Yes.
We get the right information out there.
Yes.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all. And Fran, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, everyone for illuminating and making such a meaningful presentation on the status of immigration in our community. We applaud each panelist's work and their passion for their community. And we hope to forge a partnership where we can help support your very, very important work. So thanks to everyone for attending and everyone who will be viewing the recording as well. And have a restful evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.